You ever have a movie that you should have watched a long time ago, and then you finally watch it and you think, man, I should have watched this a long time ago? Happened to me, man.
It's Drewski McGillicuddy's Return to Oz movie review.
Hey everybody, it's Drewski McGillicuddy, and it's freezing in here. That's why I'm wearing my fancy Letterman's jacket from the Dent Schoolhouse. Anyway, like I said in the intro, has there ever been a movie that you knew you should have watched a long time ago, and then when you finally watched it, you were like, what the hell's wrong with me? Well, that movie for me was Return to Oz, starring Fairuza Balk and directed by some guy that ain't never directed no other movies other than this. And you gotta wonder, it's like, all right, let's start all the way back in what, like 1937, 1939, I don't know. The original Wizard of Oz. Like, that's a date that I should know when it came out because it's one of the most beloved movies of all time. It still holds up to this day, in my opinion. I just went and saw it in a theater a couple months ago. You can check out that review somewhere in the bowels of my channel if you feel like it. It's one of those right outside the theater, sitting in the car reviews. But don't worry about that. Worry about this. When I first started watching it, actually, before I even first started watching it, the reason that I've never seen it is because this cover art, if I can find it, is that it? Did I find it? This cover art right here, it never tickled my fancy. I was like, what the, because I was always like a die-hard fan, like from the time that I saw the movie until right now, at this very moment, I've always been a die-hard fan of the Wizard of Oz. Like the original Wizard of Oz, yeah. But apparently, that's based on a book. And then apparently, that's not the only book. There's a bunch of books based on the land of Oz. And that's what the Return of Oz is. It's basically the first movie happened. And then in some kind of parallel universe, then this movie happened. But it took place right after the tornado, because you meet Dorothy, she's on the farm.
6 months after.
6 months after, and you meet Dorothy, she's on the farm, and it's Fairuza Balk. And you're like, well, wait a minute, because like she looks a lot younger in this, even though she was supposed to be like 12 in the original. But for some reason, Judy Garland looked like she was like in her 30s, even though she was supposedly 16.
She was 17.
She was 17 when she filmed the movie, playing a 12-year-old, looking like she's 40. I mean, not that I thought she looked old. I mean, I always thought she was beautiful, but she's just got that matureness about her in the original Wizard of Oz, like the way she carries herself and everything. She's very confident. Strong female leads. They've been happening since the 30s, everybody. So, I mean, there's no need. Never mind. Don't worry. We're not going to get into that.
But Fairuza Balk was 11 when they filmed this.
So then Fairuza Balk, did you just say that? It's Fairuza Balk.
11.
What, you're ruining my video. So Fairuza Balk was 11 when they filmed this, and I mean, she ended up being, like, in the 90s, one of my favorite actresses. I had, like, the biggest crush on her. But back when I used to see this VHS cover, I didn't know who the hell she was. All I knew is that was not my Scarecrow, that was not Tin Man, and that was not my, what's the other guy? Lion? That was
Cowardly Lion.
It was not, and it wasn't even a lion. It was like a goob, or what was it?
No, the lion was there.
No, I'm saying on the cover of the movie, because it ended up being on the cover of the movie. You had TikTok, who is the new Tin Man, Jack, who is the new Scarecrow, and then this abomination they made out of a couch and like some kind of moose head.
He's the Gump.
But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, okay? He's a Gump.
He's Gump! He's Gump!
Probably going to get copyright stricken for what just happened. But that's neither here nor there. Like Weird Al needs that money anyway. What am I talking about? Return to Oz, because it starts out on the farm 6 months after the events of the original movie, and Dorothy keeps talking about Oz, and, you know, they think it's dreams, and she's not sleeping, so Annie M wants to take her off to this facility for wayward children so that they can get her to stop thinking and talking and dreaming about Oz, which, you know, I think that's a little extreme. It's like, she's 11, let her have an imagination. If that's all it is, if that's all Oz is, let her have an imagination. No, they're going to take her into the city and put her into the, like, the doctor seemed really nice, okay? Because she meets with this doctor. He shows her this device. It's got a face. But in turn later on, they're going to strap her to a gurney and just electrocute her until she stops talking about Oz. That's basically what they're going to do. Because they lock her in this room, and this lady, who's obviously going to be the bad guy because she just looks, I mean, she's wearing all black and has that witchy type nose and just looks like a okay? And she locks her in the room. They come to get her however long later and strap her to this gurney, and she says, I don't want to lay down. And she says, what did your Auntie M tell you when you came here? And she said, to do whatever you tell me. And she said, that's right, now lay down. So she lays down, and they go in, and they put these antique headphones on that are like wired to shock her. And somehow, something happens, and she escapes. And then she escapes, and they're running in the rain, and they come across this river, and she jumps in the river to get away from, you know, the scary old lady with the resting face. And then she wakes up, and she's in Oz on this crate. But does the chicken tell her that it's the desert? Or no, she just knows it's the desert.
She tells the chicken that it's the desert.
Okay, because she wakes up, there's this chicken. Did I mention that? Like, she had this chicken that she was talking to at the beginning of the movie. But the chicken wasn't talking back. Well, now the chicken's talking to her. And I don't know where they got this chicken, but this chicken is a hell of an actor. And now I know that it's not really the chicken talking. And then again, maybe it was a puppet. Sometimes it's a chicken, but sometimes it might be a puppet, because how the hell did they train this chicken to do some of the stuff that it does? Because it's like constantly looking at people when you're talking to it. You tell it to do something and it does it. Like, you know, it comes to her rescue and starts beating out of these things later on. Like, this chicken is just phenomenal. One of the best chickens I've ever seen in a movie. So she tells the chicken about, oh, this is that, what's the desert called? It's some kind of desert.
The deadly desert.
It's the deadly desert. And if you touch the sand, you turn the sand. So luckily for them, there's stones that have been strategically placed so they make it onto the land. And you can see in the background that, because I kept thinking, like, when she first gets to Oz, she goes and she finds her old house that lands in the woods. And I'm sitting there thinking, where the hell are the Munchkins at? And then Dorothy's like, where the hell are the Munchkins at? And I'm like, oh, there goes, nobody knows. And then you look at the yellow brick road and it's all disheveled. That's right. I made that word up. But it's all disheveled. The bricks are just detached from the road. And right away, she knows something's wrong. And then you can see Oz in the background. And then again, I looked at Sarah and said, hey, how come that it's the Emerald City, but it ain't got no emeralds? Well, they get to the Emerald City. Finds out that the Gnome King came and stole all of the emeralds and turned everybody into stone. All the living creatures, except for these things called the Wheelers. And she sees this warning that says, watch out for the Wheelers. And then something else tells her to watch out for the Wheelers. I don't know. I can't remember.
It's painted on the wall.
It's painted on the wall. I just said that. But there was something else. Something said something about it before she actually found out what they were. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I might just be having a Mandela effect, even though it was just a couple hours ago that I watched the movie. It was actually yesterday. I'm just winging it, everybody. Deal with it. So then we are introduced to the Wheelers, which are one of the most creepy, off-putting, messed up looking things I've ever seen in a children's movie. This is a children's movie, right?
Kinda,
Of course it
sorta.
is. It's Disney. Speaking of Disney and Disney Plus, we'll talk about that later, or maybe in a whole other video. Anyway, what was I talking about? The Wheelers. Look at these things. I mean, as creepy and as disturbing as they kind of come off as, doesn't it look like fun to have wheels on your feet and wheels on your hands? It just looks fun to me. But my thing is, once they get you, how are they supposed to get you? They got wheels for hands. Now, let me just grab you with my wheels. I mean, once you actually put some thought into it, yeah, they look creepy. But what are they gonna do? They're just gonna roll around you, taunting you. That's about as far as they can go with their abilities, because they got wheels for hands. Anyway, so she gets locked in this room where she meets TikTok, who is the new Tin Man, and he has to be wound up for him to be able to move. He has to be wound up for him to be able to think, and he has to be wound up for him to be able to speak. What you would think the thinking and the speaking would be the same damn knob, so she ain't got to be turning 3 knobs constantly and checking it, because half the time, oh no, it was his brains. Because there was one where he starts, wigging all out, acting all crazy, and it turns out it was just his brains. How did they escape? He just bust out of the room, and the Tinker takes care of the Wheelers, and then they tell this one, like, hey, we're going to keep slapping you around if you don't tell us where the Scarecrow is. The whole movie, they're just looking for the Scarecrow, and he tells them, there's only one person that knows where the Scarecrow is. And he's like, it's Princess Queen Amidala, or whatever the hell her name is. What?
Princess Mombi.
Princess Mombi. It does not sound like very Wizard of Oz-ish. It sounds more like Mulan or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, the Wheeler takes her to Princess Mombi, who might be scarier than the original Wicked Witch. I can't even talk. I'm not even going to try again, okay? Might be scarier than the original witch. In the original, because the original witch, she's just painted green, and she's very witch-like. This lady is just, she's got a room full of heads, okay? And this is a kid's movie. Got a room full of heads. She takes her in there. You think she's a good person at first because she's got a real pretty face, and she talks real sweet. And she goes in, and she's like, oh, hold on. I have to change. And she takes her head off, and then it's this headless person walking around like, or like, I don't want to mess up my hair, but walking around, and she's like, oh, okay. She goes and picks this head that bears a striking resemblance to that earlier with the rest face, and that's when you know that this was a whole setup, and that this is not a person to be trusted. This is an evil person. This is the villain of the movie, but then you find out she's not really the villain of the movie. She's just a villain of the movie because the troll king, no, that's not right. The gnome king, why is he called the gnome king? He's a rock. Don't worry about that. So she tells Dorothy, look, I'm going to lock you in my tower until you're old enough, and then I'm going to steal your head. Just when it's about the right size. So she takes her up and goes to lock her in the tower. And that's when we meet Jack, the pumpkin head. He's the new Scarecrow. So we got the new Tin Man. We got the new Scarecrow. And they're trapped. They don't know what to do. They're like, oh, we're terrible. He's like, something about, thank God that she hasn't worn the same head she put me up here in, because that head forgot that I was up here because I've been up here for so damn long. And then she figured, see, I should have just wrote everything down and I would know what I was talking about. But somehow she gets out of the room, she steals the powder of life out of the medicine cabinet, and then they tie some ferns to this couch and put a moose head on it and sprinkle some powder of life on it, and it comes to life, and it's one of the most ridiculous monstrosities I've ever seen. And I kind of liked it. I don't worry about that. So They fly out the window because they're going to fly across to the Gnome King. Is that the Gnome King? Because if they touch the sand, do I have a clip of that? This is what happens if you touch the sand. Anyway, so they get there, and then it kind of turns into the end of the original, where they're on this place, and then they got to confront this person to get her friends back. But to get her friends back, they have to go and guess the ornaments. There's like ornaments, and they're like, guess which one of these ornaments is the scarecrow, and you can have the scarecrow, or you know, if you don't want to risk anything, just come over here, because he's got high heels on, which is weird because this thing starts out as just like a rock formation that's migrating around the thing, and then he turns into a face in the rock, and every time somebody goes in and makes a wrong choice on who the scarecrow is, the more human he gets. And if he gets everybody, he'll turn human. But he's trying to convince Dorothy to just go home. I guess he's starting to realize how powerful she is for being a 14-year-old girl. But there was one thing that I completely forgot to mention. I'm going to go back. There's this scene when she's taking Dorothy up to the tower, and she's got the chicken, and she just walks in, she throws the chicken. It's like, what the hell's wrong with you, lady? Who throws a chicken? It's completely uncalled for. Where was PETA at? How are you going to throw a chicken?
Here you go.
See, I ruined it. It was a lot funnier. This is why I don't write scripts. I tried it. Well, I would have wrote the script. I would have forgot to say it until now. Anyway, don't worry about that. I've been rambling on too damn long. We're going to get to the end of the movie. We're going to find out that she goes in, and obviously the correct device that they're supposed to pick. Should I even tell you? Because you probably haven't seen this damn movie either. What am I telling you the whole damn plot for? Just go watch the movie, because this is a forgotten classic. Is it forgotten? Does any like?
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I feel like it totally is. And look, here, I'll put the number here too, so you can see how good it was. It was going to be a 7.5, but I'm giving it an 8. Because at the beginning of the movie, I didn't necessarily care for the whole, who are these people? They don't look like they should. And then I was thinking Dorothy's performance was kind of just a little girl being a little girl, when that's not what Judy Garland was. She was, you know, confident about herself, whereas this Dorothy was kind of introvert. Is that what I'm talking about? Is that good?
That's good enough.
Because she was kind of introverted. I don't even know what that means. I'm just guessing. But anyway, yeah. Have you seen Return to Oz? It's one of the most messed up, disturbing children's movies I've ever seen. And, I mean, I don't see how it didn't give kids nightmares. Hell, it probably gave kids nightmares. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't give me nightmares eventually, because there are some spooky things in this movie. Like, not necessarily spooky. Like, when she goes in and she's trying to get the powder or whatever she's doing, she had to go in and get that powder. See, look, I'm just rambling on again. But the scene where the princess or whatever, the witch wakes up and it's her head. And she's like, oh, what are you doing with my stuff? And then her head that's not even attached to her tries to bite her. It's, I don't know. I don't know. But let me know if you like this video by clicking the like button. Make a comment. Wait, see, I messed it up. You're supposed to comment, then click the like button, then subscribe, then ring that bell, and then follow me on the social medias, because it'll make me feel better about myself. What are some other movies that you're looking forward to on the Disney Plus? Have you downloaded the Disney Plus? I'm gonna make a whole nother video about the Disney Plus. But just so everybody knows, it might have just up the whole trajectory of this YouTube channel. You can just forget about all these horror movies behind me. Because guess what? It ain't October no more. I mean, this was kind of a horror movie. It was like, this is like if The Wizard of Oz was a horror movie. Well, even though The Wizard of Oz is kind of a horror movie because there's a witch. It's got a witch and flying monkeys. Oh my God, they're both kind of messed up movies for kids that kids are allowed to watch. I see it came from a simpler time. Now kids are, I gotta stop rambling. I gotta go. What are you looking at?